Hi, I'm Lee. Thanks for joining me. Have you wanted to play City Skylines without running out of money? Are you frustrated because your cities are choked with traffic? In this series, More Money, Less Traffic, I'll show you how to deal with these two problems most players face in Cities Skylines. In this video, I'll show you how to grow your tiny town of 1,300 into a big town of 7,000. To do so, we're only going to use the vanilla game, so we won't use mods or DLCs, at least not without telling you. If I do, I'll be sure to let you know in the game, and I'll include the details in the description. We'll go through all the milestones in the game in this series, all the way up to Megalopolis, that's 80,000 people. Along the way, we'll avoid financial trouble and deal with traffic problems. Now, this is a concept tutorial. We're not going to cover gameplay mechanics, so if you're looking to learn how to lay down roads, build interchanges, or set up bus lines, then you might want to check out some other videos on YouTube. What you will learn in this tutorial are three things. 1. Lean construction. Build what you need when you need it. 2. Sound financial management, so we don't run out of money. 3. Good urban design. This goes to our street layout and to our zoning. Now, since this is a concept tutorial, we're not going to concern ourselves too much with aesthetics. So we're going to use a simple grid city, which I know is super boring, but bear with me, the concepts are the same as non-grid cities, and it'll allow us to keep things simple and quick. Now, in our last video, we showed you how to start your city without running out of money. We made most of our critical financial decisions in that video, so go back and watch that if you're confused by concepts that you see here and maybe don't explain a whole lot of detail. In our first video, we built 3 basic services: 1, roads, 2, electricity, and 3, water. We also added later on a landfill, our first elementary school, and our first police station. Now, what we didn't add, but we could have, were a firehouse and a clinic. That's because we didn't have a fire and we didn't have any sick Sims, so we saved money by not having to build these services. In this video, we will probably build those very soon, but before we do, let's take a look at our info panel and review some of what's going on with our city so we can get an idea of what we're going to have to budget for. It looks like our electricity is in pretty good shape, but it looks like we're probably going to run out pretty soon, be at capacity, so we'll probably have to add some power, especially if we grow our industry. Our water availability is super high, and if you remember, with our budget, we actually decreased our water budget to 70% to save a whole lot of money. So we can add capacity without even building anything, basically for free, just the upkeep. So we're pretty good on water. Our landfill usage is at 7%. Well, now it's 8. That's okay, but we want to get to 7,000 citizens as fast as possible so that we can build an incinerator, so we don't have to keep using a bunch of valuable real estate just to build landfills to store our garbage. Education is something we're going to talk about a lot in this. We have 1 elementary school, and we have 32% of our citizenry is educated. And what we want to do is we want to build a high school. Our high school will get people to become well educated. It's going to be important for growing our economy. Our Sims are at 44% happiness, the residential ones. That's not great, but it's probably because we have a really super boring town right now and we don't have any fire coverage or healthcare facilities. Now, our healthcare, we don't have anybody sick, we don't have anybody in the hospital because we don't have any hospitals or clinics. This will improve once we do build our clinic. As you can see here, we have some commercial in the center of town, and we have our industrial on the edge of town, and then we have our residential surrounding the center of town right here. This makes for convenient shopping access for our commercial zones. It also makes, since they're on the main streets, makes it easy to deliver from our industries, from our industrial area to our commercial zones. And our industrial area out here is far enough away that we're not going to have any problems with pollution. As you can see, our pollution is contained to the edge of our city and our landfill, and we are also wisely making sure that our drain is downstream from our water pumping stations so our Sims aren't getting sick off of polluted water. Now, as far as traffic goes, we don't have any traffic problems because our town is really super small. We do now have a fire. I want to point out something before we take care of that. Let me pause the game, actually. Let's take a look at our land value. Our land value right now is only 2 credits per cubic meter. That's not great, but we are building a little bit of value right in here in the center of town where our commercial districts are. That's good because we want our commercial to have good land value so that we'll get more upgraded and more taxable commercial zones. As far as fire coverage, we don't have any. One last point about pollution before I get back to the fire is we have also contained our industrial areas to the edge of town here. That also keeps the noise pollution from affecting our residential area too much because it's far enough away. Now we do have some noise here in the center of town along our commercial area, but that's not too bad so that our residents here are getting sick over it or complaining about it. So eventually this will get bigger. We might increase our density and we'll deal with those problems in later discussions. Anyway, back to our fire. We have a fire. It's our first fire. Before we go ahead and build our fire station, let's make sure we practice some good financial management. Our firehouse costs us 560 credits per week, and it costs us 12,000 credits now. Right now we're bringing in 1,300 credits per week, so we can easily afford the upkeep on this fire station. And our cost is easily affordable. We don't even need to spend but a fraction of the 71,000 credits that we have in the bank to build it. So let's go ahead and build this. And just for the sake of speed, why don't we go ahead and build it right here on this empty area in between. This should give our fire trucks decent access to most of our city along Main Street and along our industrial area. If we look at our fire coverage now, and we'll start the clock again. Look at our fire coverage now. Things are starting to turn blue instead of red. That's good, so we won't have to worry about fires for the foreseeable future. Most of our streets are green. That means we have good enough fire coverage. That's going to increase our land value across the city. If you look at our land value now, you see that it is now 7 credits per square meter. And we're seeing those up arrows, which means that some of our houses and commercial zones are upgrading because we just added a fire station. So fire coverage, police coverage, healthcare coverage, and parks are all several things that increase land value and make it more desirable to live in your city. Now let's look at crime. We have good coverage for our police. We're a little short here outside on the outskirts of town, but that's okay right now. We're small. Our police can probably handle it, although we do have about as many criminals detained as we have capacity for in our jail, so that could be a problem if we don't build at least a bigger or another police station pretty soon. Now, this is a number that's really important for us to pay attention to. This is our unemployment number. 30% is pretty high, so that means we need to really put a priority on building some industrial area out so that we can add more industrial zones to keep our Sims employed. As far as outside connections go, we are importing about as much as we're exporting, and we're only importing mostly raw materials. That's great because our commercial zones are going to make us more money, and our industrial zones are going to make us more money if we're consuming what we make rather than bringing it in from outside of town. So that's a good number. We've looked at our land value. It's increased even more, up to 8 credits per cubic meter. That's how important fire coverage is. As far as natural resources go, we don't have a lot here in the center of our city, but we do have some farmable land out there on the edge of town, and then along our highway here, on both sides of our highway really, we have lots of trees. So we could actually set up some forestry specialization, some forestry specialized industry along our highway to take advantage of those trees. And then we'd have some of the raw materials that we would need for our generic industry to make stuff. Now, we mentioned that it's a really boring place to live here in our little town. That's because we don't have any parks. We'll hopefully address that pretty soon too. And then finally, before we move on, I wanted to show you that in our last video we made it so all of our junctions along our main streets have stop signs for the side streets so that cars and trucks are able to move around the city really easily. As you can see right here, we've got multiple routes for our garbage trucks and people going to work, and even trucks making deliveries to our commercial district right here. They have multiple ways of getting into town. That's good. That diffuses the traffic. Let's take a look at what we've got to look at forward to here in this video. As I mentioned, parks have become available, and we're going to build a high school. Now we're going to almost double the population of our city to become a boom town. That means that we'll be able to add public transportation if we need it, which we shouldn't. We'll be able to add some more choices of roads, and we'll be able to build cemeteries, which are important because once we get to being a boom town, then Sims will start dying on us, literally, and we'll have to have a place to bury them. After we double our city from being to being a busy town, then we'll add some more industrial specializations, some more road choices, and some larger versions of our police station with a police headquarters, our firehouse with a fire station, our clinic with a hospital, as well as a few other buildings here that are for recreational use. At the conclusion of the video will be a boom town that will give us the opportunity to do some more specializations, set up some more policies. We'll have access to high density residential and commercial zones for the first time, and we'll be able to zone office. And more importantly, we'll be able to build that incinerator that we need to handle our garbage so we don't have to waste real estate on landfills. And we'll be able to educate our Sims more and continue building our economy by building a university. That will happen in the next video. Also in the next video, we will become a small city of 9,500. This will give us the ability to add rail, which is important for freight. It'll help us reduce the trucks on our streets. Next will be a big city of 1,600. We'll be able to build a crematorium, which will allow us to not have to continue to build cemeteries, which will fill up like landfills, and then we have to empty them, or we have to build more. We'll also be able to stop polluting our water as much by building our water treatment plant. And finally, we'll end with 20,000 Sims and a grand city at the end of the next video. So for right now, we need to tackle the high school. So before we do that, let's take a look at how much that's going to cost us. We need 560 credits per week and 24,000 in the bank. We easily exceed the 24,000, and we easily exceed the 560 per week. Now, if we needed to build a medical clinic, that's going to cost us 400 per week, and 10,000 credits to build. So putting all that together, that's 960 credits per week. We have about 1,250 that we're bringing in per week, so that's definitely affordable. Plus, we'll increase our land value with both of those, so it should be easy to afford those without even expanding our city. But we don't want to increase our land value too much because, as I mentioned earlier, we don't have any well-educated Sims. That's going to hurt us as soon as we have some upgraded buildings in here, which we do not yet have, but we have some that are really close. Once we do, they'll expect not only educated but even well-educated Sims to be available to work in these shops. Otherwise, they may abandon, which would be bad for our economy. We'll end up in a cycle of upgrading and abandoning on those buildings, which we don't want. So, before we build our high school, I said we weren't going to cover too much in the way of aesthetics. I do like symmetry, however. It makes it a lot easier to keep track of how things are going. It makes it a lot easier to keep building. And since we need to double the size of our city, I would really like to keep it symmetrical by building a few blocks out here and out here. But I don't own this city square. The good news is we can buy it. And it only costs 3,400 credits. So we'll go ahead and purchase that, since it's only a one-time cost. So now we have access to building out all the way to the highway, which is good because we'll want to build an interchange here, and we need to expand our city quite a bit. We'll actually be expanding it about 5 times the size it is now to be able to accommodate our industry, to accommodate building a big town. Now, one of the things we talked about earlier is we need industry. And we were thinking about building some forestry industry out here along our highway to take advantage of the lumber possibilities that we have. So why don't we go ahead and build out that way. Okay, so went ahead and expanded out here to the edge of town, and I set up a district and named it Forest Park and set it to be a forestry specialized area. Now I still need a little bit more of our general industry out here to fill that in, so I'll just go ahead and build that there. I need to add water before they go ahead and get too crazy out here. So now those zones will populate, and since we have electricity pushed out there, let me go ahead and build some water pipes. Okay, so I have water and I have power available. Now I'm going to go ahead and zone some forestry specialized industry over here. Alright, so we've got those industries coming in. Let's take a look at our employment numbers. We're still at 39%, so we could still use some more industry. Okay, I made a little mistake there. I think I've corrected it. Let's take a look at our employment rate now. 22%. It's going very much down. So we could probably start building out that residential area that we needed. Now what I've got here is I have 12 blocks. I have 3 by 4. I'd like to add 4 here, and I can add 8 more out here without adding too much infrastructure. So why don't I go ahead and do that? I'll be back. Okay, so I added those streets, set up all the stop signs, and I added water underneath. If we take a look at our unemployment numbers now, we're still at 21%. That's not great, but I am seeing an awful lot of people saying that they're looking for labor, looking for workers. So we'll add some of those. But right now it looks like we have hit a wall as far as our power goes. We could build a coal power plant for 560 per week. Why don't we go ahead and do that? That'll take care of our electricity problems. Now we'll have to take care of our worker problems by zoning in some more residential. Something I forgot to do is at our high school. Definitely bringing enough money, we can handle that. It will definitely help us out as we grow our city. So now we've got that high school. We've got our industrial area out here that's expanded. And now we're going to speed up the clock and fill in some more of these residential areas. As you can see here, our worker situation is much better. We're down to 11%, 10% now. That will probably increase as more Sims move in. Hopefully there's a little extra capacity as far as jobs available goes, that we'll be able to just cruise right into being a boomtown very shortly. Something else we want to take a look at right now too is traffic. We do have a pretty busy intersection over here. We have a lot of trucks passing through, but we haven't had any backups, so we're in pretty good shape as far as that goes. So we're just going to leave things alone and let it progress. A lot of trucks using that one way of getting into town. Now this is a problem that we were hoping to avoid. We're a boomtown. That's great. So now we will have the ability to add cemeteries. Sims will also gain the ability to die, which means we need to build a cemetery. So hopefully we've got it in our budget to go ahead and build one. Back to the education conversation. We have 4% are well educated, and we have some commercial zones that have upgraded to level 2 right here, which gives us some nice bigger buildings, but it also means that they're looking for more educated and well educated workers than the buildings that have not upgraded. So hopefully our high school will be able to educate enough Sims fast enough that this will not be a problem so bad that we'll have a lot of abandoned commercial buildings right here in the center of town. So let's speed up the clock and let's see what happens. Looks like we have a water shortage, and we do. We also are having a problem treating all of it. So let's go back to our budget here, and we'll increase our water capacity by just increasing our budget back up to 100%. So it costs us more money, but we can afford it really easily because we're already bringing in 2,000 credits per month. Let's go ahead and let the clock go, and we'll see what happens. So our industrial demand is through the roof, and our residential demand is on the floor. So let's look at our unemployment numbers. Our unemployment has gone up to 22%, so that means we need to really do something to increase the amount of industry we have available. Why don't we go ahead and add some more forestry right down here. Now, I'm afraid that if I do that, I'm going to create a lot of problems with my traffic. So what we're going to do while before I actually increase that, add some more zones over here for my forestry, is I'm going to build an interchange here on the highway. Okay, so we've got ourselves an interchange. I'm going to set the stop signs here. I just built a half cloverleaf because I don't want to build a diamond interchange or some other type of more complex interchange here. I really don't need it in the first place. I do need full access in both directions. So I'm going to build a half cloverleaf, and I want it to be plenty far from this service system interchange here that has the two highways converging. So now I can have trucks go through either intersection to get to either this interchange or this interchange to get to the highway to get in and out of town. So now let me go ahead and zone some more industry. Taking a look at our unemployment numbers, we've got 26% unemployed. That means we need a lot more jobs, so I really need to increase the size of this industrial park over here, so I will be right back. Okay, so this is going to increase the size of my industrial area drastically. Hopefully we'll get that unemployment number down. It looks like it's tanking as we speak. So now we can think about increasing the size of our residential area. Once again, our goal is to get 4,600 people, so we need to nearly double what we have here. So I'm going to go take care of that. I'll be right back. Okay, our Sims are clamoring for more commercial zones. I'm thinking about giving them to them. It looks like our education gap has been solved. So one of the things that we need to think about here is, where do we put these commercial zones? Well, one of the things that I know I want to do when I expand this city is I want to make sure that I can handle all the traffic. Right now we don't have any traffic problems though. So I'm just going to keep building some commercial zones right out here on my commercial corridors. I'm just going to build them along High Street and Main Street here in the center of town for now. Okay, so this will take care of some of that commercial demand. I'm going to go ahead and add some residential zones over here. Now just for kicks, I added some commercial zones here on the outskirts of town. I can put some over here as well. This will hopefully take care of some of the unemployment problems that we're having and get some more Sims to move in. And it looks like it's working. We're down to 6%. One of the things we forgot to build, and it's time because we now have 2 deaths in the family. We need to build a cemetery. So let's take a look at our budget and see if we can do that. Our cemetery is going to cost us 8,000 credits. We definitely have that. 160 per week. That's not even close to putting a dent in our budget, so why don't we go ahead and build that. And we'll go ahead and put it right here. Not going to build that street through anyway. And it always kind of looks cool to have a cemetery at the end of the street. Now, something that I'm going to need here is water, because I don't have any in that particular spot. So now I can get the hearses out and take care of those. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade the road here to be paved so that the hearses will move along faster than they would otherwise. So let's go ahead and speed up the clock. Okay, we have a new problem. We have lots of Sims complaining about noise. And that means they're sick. So we need a clinic. Let's go ahead and build the clinic. This will be our last service that we have not built so far. We'll go ahead and build this on High Street right here. And that should be in a pretty central location to most of our city that we've got built so far. That should take care of those 6 citizens. Looks like we're short on electricity, so it's time to build another power plant. We will go ahead and build one right here. Across the street from our other one. Let's take a look at our garbage situation, see if we are close to filling up our landfill. No, not quite. We're almost halfway though. So hopefully we get about double our population soon enough that we won't have to build another landfill. If we do, then I'll just expand that area up there. Let's start the clock. So you're probably wondering what I'm going to do about these abandoned buildings. Since this is an industrial area and land value isn't really all that important, then I'm just going to leave these be. I could demolish them, but I don't know if that's really going to be worth my while. This intersection here is getting pretty busy. This road here is backing up behind the stop sign pretty regularly. If we take a look at our traffic view, yes, those are red. So why don't we go ahead and upgrade those stop signs to a traffic light? That should make things move a little clearer. We'll check this intersection over here. It looks like we're doing okay. So we'll just let that continue. And it looks like our abandonment problem has solved itself. Looks like I need to add some more zones. And it looks like I'll need to expand the city again pretty soon as well. Okay, so we have a lot of commercial demand, and here we have a commercial building that is abandoned. We'll go ahead and get rid of that so that something can grow in its place, because that will detract from land value, which is going to reduce the amount of taxes that we collect. That's probably going to upgrade again, and it's probably not going to have enough workers, but we're going to hope for the best. Alright, now we are a busy town. This makes it so we have more road choices that will help us control noise. We also have larger buildings, larger versions of our police station, firehouse, and our medical clinic with the police headquarters, fire station, and hospital. We don't have any other significant developments besides that. So let's take a look at our police and fire coverage. We're banking well over 4,000 credits a month now. So we could actually really think about improving the size of our services so that we cover more of the city, especially when it comes to fire. It looks like we should probably build a fire station somewhere over here so we can catch more of this industrial area. That looks like that would turn almost the entire city green. So let's go ahead and do that. This will cost us 1,440 credits per week. That will barely take a bite out of what we've already got coming in, and it will probably increase our land value, so it'll definitely be worth it. So we'll put that right there. And then we have the police department. Looks like we could build that right across the street from our fire and get about the same coverage. Oh, I built the wrong building. So let me go ahead and do that right. There we go. Okay, so I lost some money with that transaction, but I still had over 160,000 before I built the fire station. So now, in order to keep my expenses down, I really should probably demolish this police station and this firehouse. And we'll go ahead and put some commercial right here to fill in that gap. Now, another thing I haven't taken a look at lately is education. I have definitely way over capacity on my elementary schools. We don't have any elementary schools over here on this side of town. So why don't I go ahead and fix that by finding a place for my elementary school right here. Maybe I'll put it across the street from the police station, and we'll keep the kids safe. And high schools, we are a little over on high school. So we need to consider whether to add another one. I think I'm just going to neglect this problem for right now and just let things take their course. We need to get up to 7,000 citizens so that we can get an incinerator. Our garbage capacity is 59% full, so we're really getting close. We need another 2,400 citizens to avoid having to build another landfill anytime soon. I also want to point out that we have another problem up here. This is getting backed up a little bit. These trucks are taking a while to move through. It's not super duper bad, but we definitely don't want to have trucks backing up here onto the highway. And then we have a traffic jam on the highway that backs up anything else that might be trying to come in or go through our city. So we need to keep a close eye on that. I am not sure that we need to worry about it just now, but we'll probably widen Main Street if that continues to be backed up. For now, I am going to check my unemployment rate and see how we're doing there. Well, we have lots of jobs, but we do not have that many Sims. That's a good problem to have because we need more Sims. So I'm going to go ahead and expand our city. Now, a nifty little trick with power lines right here. So I can actually take it so that it goes right up against the road, which will connect it to those houses. Pretty slick. Makes it so I don't have to worry about eating up any real estate over here. Okay, so that's developing, and I will see. Looks like we have a problem over here with our industrial zones. These have upgraded, and there's not enough services. Not sure which services they're looking for. Healthcare isn't a good one. Fire and police are good. Education is there, but not great. I may just neglect that problem as well, although I really would like to have some upgraded industry. It pollutes a lot less. Why don't I just see where our unemployment numbers are first off. 5%. We should be able to get quite a bit of Sims to move in. I'm just going to speed up the clock and see what happens. Okay, so we're having some water problems here. Looks like we need to add some more capacity here. So I'm going to add a drain first off, right over here. Next to my other one, make sure the power stays connected. And then I'm going to add a water tower. Actually, I'm going to put 2 of them in. I can put them over here, because if you remember, I've done a pretty good job at containing my pollution. And since forestry-specialized industry does not pollute, I can go ahead and build a water tower over here and not have to worry about whether there's going to be any problems with ground pollution making my Sims sick. Now another thing that is an advantage here with our forestry specialization is that since we don't have any pollution, I can actually think about going ahead and building some houses along this road. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now too. Okay, let's start the clock and see what happens. Let's check our unemployment numbers while we're here. 4% still. That's a pretty good number. Let's let this develop and see where we end up. Hopefully we'll get to 7,000 in short order. Okay, so if you've been keeping an eye on the highway interchange over here, you've noticed that there were a couple of times when this very close, very almost backed up onto the highway, which is not going to be a good thing. So, right there, it's almost backed up again. So, it's about time that we need to think about widening that intersection. The reason being that if we do, then we can fit more trucks through. Some can go straight, the cars especially. Some will turn right, some will turn left. And that will definitely make it so that the intersection is more efficient. It'll also mean that it has to be green for Main Street in a shorter period of time. And it'll allow this industrial street to unload a little bit more and a little more frequently. So we're going to hang tight just a little bit longer on that. And we're going to look at our unemployment because our industrial demand is pretty high. We're at 19%. So if we're going to hit 7,000 before this landfill fills, and it is very close to full now, we need to add some industry. It looks like we're also going to have to add some more residential. So it is time to expand this up here. So let me take care of that. Okay, so we have a problem with our landfill filling up. It is 100% full, and we're still about 400 short. For safety's sake, it's always better to make sure that the garbage doesn't get out of hand because it takes a long time to catch up. So we're going to go ahead and build a landfill right here next to the other one. It's not exactly in the best place traffic-wise, but we won't need it for very long. We'll just go ahead and build this here, and I'll start the clock. Ah, looks like we're out of electricity too. So we need another power plant. Okay, so if we take a look up here, we can see that this is really getting out of control. It's backing up onto this long ramp. It's not backing up on the short one, thankfully, but it's inevitable that it will. These are also getting really congested, so we're just going to go ahead and widen this road right here. I'm going to make sure that that is not an industrial zone right there. Should make our traffic flow a little better. So far so good. We'll keep an eye on this. It looks like we're about to hit our milestone though. Alright, we are a boom town. Now this means we are at the conclusion of our video here. We will be able to introduce offices and high density zoning in the next set, and we will build an incinerator and a university. This will be able to help us get our Sims to their highest education level, and it will allow us to empty out the landfills and remove them. We'll go ahead and build our city through the next 3 milestones, all the way up to a grand city of 20,000. We will see some humongous growth. We'll triple the size of our small town, well, big town really, of 7,000, and we will make it a real bona fide city of 20,000 in the end. We will probably have to deal with some traffic problems. If we take a look at our traffic detail, we definitely have some issues going on over here. Highway interchanges always have a great deal of traffic queuing up because that's where everybody wants to go, especially when we're talking about industrial traffic like trucks. So that will have to be tackled. So far we haven't built any wide roads except for this little section right here. We'll be able to get away with that for maybe a little while longer, but it would probably benefit us and our Sims getting around if we were to make at least High Street and Main Street larger thoroughfares so that we can get more people faster across town. Also, we'll be able to take a look at rail. And railroads are really important because all of this truck traffic would be significantly reduced if we had some railroads, put some cargo terminals here. Now it looks like we have some rail access that we could get here if we buy that next square. We also have some access that we could get down here. Now, in keeping with my usual recommendation, we want to keep our industry along the highway and along the railway. That tends to mean, usually for me, that I'm building railways alongside highways, which we already have right here, which is convenient. So we'll probably extend a railway in through here and try to see if we can take a dent out of this truck traffic. We might even be able to do that without even having to concern ourselves with building any wider roads, but we're going to do that anyway just because we need to have a few larger arterials to handle the traffic, especially at these highway interchanges. So, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comment section. If you would like to see what happens next, please subscribe, and we'll be happy to show you how to grow your city into a city of 20,000, which is 1/4 of the way towards being a megalopolis, where this series will conclude. All right, thanks so much for watching, and Have a great day.